and welcome everyone to Real Chat with Kat, a podcast dedicated to offering a growth mindset platform where we entrepreneurs talk about business, mindset, and life in general, while sprinkling in some tips, tricks, and practical ways you can grow in your business. I'm your host, Katherine Polsinelli, owner of Agent Services Plus, a consulting company focused on helping you build and grow in your business. So grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, and let's get ready to have some great conversations and some amazing takeaways and ahas. So let's dive in. Today I've got Jackie Durbin. So hey Jackie, so nice to meet you.
Hello.
So I love what you're doing as far as all the classes and things that you're teaching with people, because KV Core especially is such an intricate piece of equipment. It's fantastic to use.
Right.
There's so many facets to it. So give us a little bit of background about you. I know that you were licensed in one state and moved to another. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously Jackie Durbin from Arizona, originally from Kentucky. So go Cats. Anyhow, so basically I was a teacher for 20 years and I loved education. It was something that was always a passion of mine because I had great educators that taught me. And so I was like, well, I want to be a teacher. And the great thing about teaching is you get to impact so many people in so many different ways. But the bad thing about teaching is the pay's crap. And I had two kids and I was newly divorced. I was a single mom. My ego was too big to ask for child support. So I thought to myself, I need to figure out a way to supplement my income. And so I thought about bartending. I thought about tutoring. I thought about doing all these different things. And then when I was introduced to my now current husband, he said, why don't you go into real estate with me? You'd be great at it. And I'm like, I don't know nothing about selling nothing. I've tried Avon. I've tried Mary Kay. I've taught Tupperware, whatever it was. I'm like, I'm no good at selling stuff. And he goes, no, you're not. But you're great at building relationships. And that's what real estate is. It's finding people who want to work with you and people who know, like, and trust you. And I'm like, okay. So I got licensed in Kentucky in May of 2018. And then in July, we moved to Arizona. So those 2 months that I had my license in Kentucky, didn't sell a single thing because obviously there's no time for that. Moved to Arizona where they are not a state of reciprocity. So I got to do it all over again. What a fun 96 hours in class.
Hey.
But the good thing is I passed my class like first try. So I was like, ooh, yeah, I got it. And then again, I was still teaching. So I was having a license, but I wasn't really a practicing real estate agent. I would open a door. I would, help my husband when he needed help with like knowing where, like, files and stuff like that, like with paperwork. But I wasn't really creating a sphere of influence because I didn't want to. I didn't want to poach my students' parents and say, hey, you trust me teaching your kid and making sure that they're smart and that they're safe through the day. But hey, now use me to sell your house. And obviously administration's kind of frowns upon that. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. So fast forward to 2020, COVID happened. I am a mom of 4. My youngest son was diagnosed with autism when he was 4. And so online school for a child on the spectrum is a nightmare. And online school with a child on the spectrum who has a mom who's teaching online during the day is even more of a nightmare. So I watched him just regress in everything that he had learned. In the meantime, my teenage daughters are struggling with mental health because the teenage population, I think that's what a lot of people missed out on, was those kids. It really affected them because they were used to being social and now they're not social at all. And so we had daughters who were cutting. We had daughters who were severely depressed. We had daughters who, had to be hospitalized. And I looked at my husband and I said, this is not what life is supposed to be like. And, I always laugh, and I shouldn't laugh about this. I'm Christian, but I cuss a little. Someone told me I needed to get that put on a shirt. But I looked at him and I said, I just don't think that God would have given me all these kids if I wasn't supposed to be like their number one cheerleader, and I can't be their cheerleader and be in the classroom. Yeah. And my husband looked at me and said, yeah, but you got to make some money. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know how that's going to happen because I didn't want to sell real estate. I really didn't. I was like, I don't want to like go out and door knock. I don't want to sit in an open house all day. Cause what if somebody comes in and hurts me? Like, that's scary. Yeah. And so, we did what Christians do. And we sat down and we prayed and we said, God, if there's a will, you're going to make a way. And in those 6 months, my husband's business quadrupled. And I
Wow.
thought to myself, well, there's the message. Okay. So I left the classroom, went full time into real estate in my first 6 months, which was kind of crazy because, again, I told you I didn't want to sell real estate. Like, I didn't want to go out and meet people.
Yeah.
I closed 8 transactions in my first 6 months.
What?
And yes, and these were not people that knew me. This was not my sphere of influence. Every single day I made it a point, I would put 15 business cards in my pocket and I would go to the grocery store and I would put a gallon of ice cream in my grocery cart. And I couldn't leave and I couldn't put the ice cream back until I handed out all those 15 cards.
Okay.
So I would go around and I would just pass out my card like, hey, this is going to be really weird, but my name's Jackie. I'm a real estate agent and I kind of have this competition for myself. So can I give you this business card? And it was crazy because guess what? Some of those people were actually needing a real estate agent and they thought I was funny. And I was like, well, shit the bed. Sorry. I hope
You're
we
totally
can cuss
fine.
on this. Okay. Okay. So I remember I'm Christian. I cuss a little. That's my favorite little S word. But what was crazy was I found that I didn't have to fit a mold. And I think that's like a major obstacle that a lot of, I mean, I hate to say only female agents, but I feel like a lot of us female agents, we feel like we have to fit in this mold.
Yeah.
We've got selling sunset where, everything has to be to the nines and we have to be in all this, fancy, name brand clothes. And it's like, that's not me. Like I'm
Yeah.
wearing a ball cap, I'm wearing a t-shirt, like my jeans are ripped and I'm wearing tennis shoes. Like I don't want to be something that I'm not. And I know that there has to be a way to attract people that like me for who I am.
Yeah.
And it happened and it happened so authentically. Now, fast forward, I've moved out of production. I only teach KV Core because I miss being in the classroom. I mean, I missed having students. And so now my students are adults. And, they don't have to ask me permission to use the restroom. I don't have to check homework or create an assessment, but I get to share all of these awesome tools within our CRM to help other agents increase their production. So in a nutshell, that's it. That's it, folks. All right. See you later. Bye. I'm just joking.
And we're done. No, I love that.
Like,
It's funny. I was just talking with somebody earlier about that, about this persona that I feel like we, especially as women, right, that we have to fit into, especially when you're looking at an entrepreneurial role or being a business owner, quote unquote, where we feel like you have to dress a certain way, you have to look a certain way, you have to talk a certain way. And if you don't abide by that, then you could be considered, rude or weird or, not approachable, which I've gotten that one several times because I'm very direct and that throws a lot of people off. But like you said, I really do feel like if people would learn to lean into who they really are and be okay with that, there's a type of confidence that comes out with that to be honest, draws in the people that you want to be around and the people that you want to work with or you want to help. Like they somehow find you because you being you is what is attracting those people. And I think that it makes it easier as well, figuring out who you want to work with, because those that don't line up with you, right, probably not going to call you.
Exactly.
But I think it makes the process
honestly
easier.
Yeah. And honestly, that's an okay thing. Like I remember thinking like success was, having so many transactions in a month or, hitting a certain, volume number or whatever. But honestly, success, I think to me is still loving your job at the end of the day.
Definitely.
And if you're taking on clients because you're tied to the commission, you're going to start taking on clients that are going to start affecting your mental health.
Yep.
And you're going to start hating the job and it's not going to be worth it. And the thought of, oh, I'm doing this to help people. The people that you're helping don't want to be helped. And now you don't like the job anymore.
Yep.
I mean, burnout is a real thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I definitely agree with you on that one. You really have to think about that and you have to enjoy the process and the growth from it. And I think it's unfortunate in our industry, that 80% of agents under 3 years quit.
Yep.
Like that's a huge ratio. That's ridiculous. And I don't think it's all because they just couldn't get the sales or they couldn't. I really do think it's burnout. They either took somebody else's ideas and implemented something that had nothing to do with the way they do things, like cold calling. It's For people that like out there cold calling, like go for it, all for you, totally think. I
Yeah.
absolutely hated it. I was a solo agent at one point. I joined a team, and although I learned a lot on that team, they were huge on their numbers and their calls. And I got burnt out on that super quick because I'm not that kind of a person. I am more of a relationship, let's have a conversation, let me get to know you kind of a person. And so it didn't work. And I feel like that's a huge issue within our industry, is why so many people get out under 3 years, is because they don't find their own passion within this industry or within entrepreneurship. Regardless,
Yeah.
they lose sight of that, and I think that that's a huge one for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's that. And then it's also like a misconception, I think, because I remember, and this is very naive of me, but I'm like, I'm going to be so great at real estate because I'm going to have a flexible schedule. Guys, that is a myth. You do not, no, the reason why you're flexible is because you have to be flexible, because you have 10,000 things that you got to do and 10,000 places you got to go all at the same time. I
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to be in real estate and I'm going to have more time for my family. You're not. To be, this is what I think. If someone's success is they want to have, they want to do 40 million, you better be really praying that you have a spouse that is supportive, because in order to have that type of production, you're missing out on a lot of other things. You may be missing a ball practice. You may be, missing bedtime or whatever because you're stuck in front of a computer doing paperwork. So just realize, if you are measuring success, and there's nothing wrong with this, if this is how you measure success, more power to you. But with higher volume comes there's something you're missing. And if you are a parent or if you are married, you may miss a date night. You may miss these things. So if that is okay with you, I mean, I might say in my head, you need to reevaluate your goals, girl or boy or whoever you are. But just know, like, it doesn't come easy. Like, I think everybody thinks, oh, if I'm going to make millions being a real estate agent. Are there people who make that much money? Of course. But the average salary on the average real estate agent is about 40 to 50 grand.
Yeah.
That's average.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a reason why that's the average. If you want to be in the top 1%, you have to do what the other 99% doesn't do, which is give up their family or give up their, their whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to know, like, what are your goals? And for me, I want to be able to provide for my family, but I don't value my success based on how many transactions I close. Cause I got 4 kids, and guess what? I don't miss any of their stuff. I don't miss a ball practice. I don't miss a game. I don't miss a competition. I don't miss a recital. I don't even care if it's like a recital and they're just saying the national anthem or I pledge allegiance. Like, I'm not missing that because that's my kids.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm right there with you.
Can I stay in the top 1%? No. And I'm okay with that because my kids are more important.
But that's your goals too, right? And I feel like that's something else that a lot of people don't pay attention to when they get into this industry. They see all these flashy things and they get all these big time agents in front of them and they're like, oh, it'll be just like that. But do you really? Because like I've talked with people that I've worked with and I've coached, and my question to them is always, what are your goals? Like, what do you need to strive for? Where do you need to be in your life that makes you comfortable in your living situation, right? And if that means 50, 60,000 a year, great. Then let's make a plan around that. Don't make a plan around how to be a multimillionaire, because you're not going to line up with that. And you're going to get halfway through the process and go, this sucks, I'm out, I'm done. Instead of focusing on what you should be doing. So I love that you did talk about what success means for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't take and break down. We see success as like an overall haul of like, I'm the best of the best, I'm top of the top. Why? Like, success can mean so many different things. Success just means you didn't quit. You're still striving for something, and whatever that may be. But people need to figure out what their success is instead of what the success is of somebody else.
Oh, heck yeah. Because I'm going to tell you right now, guys, that brand new Tesla will drive just as well as your beat up minivan.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the people who mean the most to you could care less what metal is covered in those four wheels.
Yeah.
It blows my mind the importance that people put on material possessions. I mean, I grew up in Kentucky. Okay. My house basically looked like a trailer with a basement. We had 3 bedrooms. We didn't have central air. We had, a cistern because we didn't have city water. So if you don't know what a cistern is, it's kind of like a well, but like it's underneath your house.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had nothing. We had 2 huge gardens, and that's how we had our vegetables. We had neighbors who had ponds, and like there were years that like we had to go fishing because if you wanted to have a meat on your plate, you had to go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And did I ever think that my parents weren't successful? No, because I didn't measure their success by what we had. We had love and we had
Yeah.
memories, and we were always together, and that's what was important. So I feel like a lot of people they get into this notion, and I think society plays a part in it. And we also, we all have our own things like, oh, I didn't have this growing up, I want to do this, or I want to go
Mm-hmm.
there, but those material things, you can't take them with you.
Yeah.
So, where I don't know, I feel like there's like a mindset that needs to be popped. Like,
Yeah.
if doing that many transactions makes you happy, do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're only doing it to achieve this goal of this car or this house or this vacation or whatever, what happens when that's gone? Then
Yeah.
is your happiness gone? Because people always say, oh, it'll make me happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Happiness is from happenstance. That means that it's something that caused you to be happy. How about instead of trying to be happy, you try to find joy? Joy happens from moments that can't just go away. Like it's like, your memories. When you think about your childhood, man, I feel joy when I think about my childhood. I don't feel happiness because it's not going to go away. It's like, like if you're having a great day and then it starts raining. If you were happy, then the rain just screwed your day. If you were feeling joy, it doesn't matter what the weather does, you still feel great. And that's the type of life people really need to try to grab a hold of.
Yes. Yes.
Look, I'm getting preachy.
I love
Come on now, Pastor. Let's go. My pastor back home would be so excited.
It's so true. And I, like on my page and on my Instagram and stuff like that, like I talk about these things and this mindset and this belief that I feel like has been ingrained in us from a younger age when we're extremely, influential in being influenced. Sorry. And it's such a huge thing, right? Like for some people, like you didn't have a lot growing up, and my family hit the same thing. We did great for years, and then everything kind of like fell apart, and we didn't have a lot, but I lived on a bunch of land, and I could go and run and play and do whatever I wanted, and I was the happiest person in the world,
right?
And I didn't need anything else. And so that is something that I feel like a lot of people do need to strive for, is get rid of those beliefs that you heard from other people. And that's something that a lot of us don't realize. And it's something that I talk about, is your subconscious mind picks up these things that people constantly say and constantly tell you, right? So what you say out loud, if, happiness has to be this, and this, is that something that you truly believe? Or is that something that someone else has said so many times that your subconscious takes it as truth? And that's a huge one that I really wish people would understand.
100%. Because like I'll see people like, because I always tell people, don't believe somebody's Instagram story. That is half their life. That's their fake life. And it's like, we've got 4 kids. And so we wanted to go on vacation this year. And I'm like, oh, maybe we could go here or there. And I'm thinking about all these extravagant places. And I'm like, oh, this would be great. And then I got to thinking to myself, what do I really want? Like, what's my goal for this vacation? And it's like, well, I have a 20-year-old and she still likes to hang out with her mom because she thinks I'm cool. So I want to be able to have a great experience. And I've got this, this little girl that's getting ready to turn 16 and she's super impressionable. And I want to make sure that I can show her like, you know what? It don't matter what anybody else thinks. Let's just have fun. And so like, I started thinking like, it's not about a place. It's about an experience that I want to have. And really I can do that anywhere. So like, like when people start comparing themselves, like, oh, well, they went for a European cruise, or they went on, they went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess what? You can go to KOA camp and still have a fun time. Because guess
Very
what?
true.
It's the people that you're with,
Yeah.
and I talk about the Tesla all the time because like there was a moment in my life where I was like, I have to have one. I have to have one. Like I want the one. I didn't want the ones with the doors that went up because I was like, what if that smacks me in the face? That would hurt. But I wanted a Tesla so bad. And my husband looked at me and he goes, why do you want a Tesla? And I'm like, because they're cool. And he was like, since when did you care what was cool? And I was like, you're right. I would like a different car. I've had
Yeah.
the same van for 8 years. It's paid off. It's been paid off. I would like something new that has a little more bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, but do we have to buy do you have to have $100,000 car? And I'm like, well, no. And he's like, okay, like, well, like a Mazda, would that work? And I'm like, as long as it has 3 rows of seats, that's fine. And it's like, but we get into that because we see what other people have. We see those
Yeah.
flashy items and we go towards it. So like, when we're watching Selling Sunset and we see, oh wow, they made $139,000 commission. I bet that made them happy. I'm gonna tell you what, those girls are not happy.
Yeah.
They are not happy. They are faking it. And it doesn't matter what you strive for. Like you have to think to yourself, like, why do I want this? Why is this important to me? And it's a lot of self-reflection because, growing up not having stuff, when you see name brand stuff, you're like, yes, I want that Coach purse because it's fancy. And if I wear it, then people will think they'll see me in a different light.
Yep.
But the point is, people shouldn't you're not supposed to judge people. I mean, like, hello, did anyone go to Sunday school? Don't judge a book by its cover. Okay. They tell you that
Very
in
true.
Sunday school and in all schools. So it's like a purse with a certain tag on it is not going to make you any more of something that you aren't already.
Yeah.
I can put on shoes that have the little red bottom stuff on it. That doesn't make me that type of person.
Yeah.
It's basically like you're playing Halloween, like you're putting on a costume.
Sure.
Just be your real self.
Yeah.
The right people will gravitate towards you. And the people that don't because they're judging you, well, you didn't want them in your life anyway.
No, not at all. Because those are the
Not
clients that challenge you through the entire process. And by the time you're done, you have put so much focus on them. You probably lost 5 other people out there that were looking for your help, but you were so hyper focused and had your blinders on, you didn't even see them.
Yep. And you've lost yourself. Part of you left your body, and that's not good. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Yeah, I do. And I feel like that. And a lot of people that I've connected with, they it's the same thing. Like they enjoy being their authentic self because, to be honest, and here, I'm horrible at keeping facts straight. So if I have to pretend to be something, I'm probably going to screw it up somewhere along the way because I'm not going to remember what it is that I was trying to be when I was around. Like I can't do it. And I did it, for a little bit when I first got into real estate. And I've talked about this is, I did buy the suit jackets and the nice pants and the heels and stuff like that to make myself feel like a businesswoman. And then I realized that, putting myself in a different perspective and being around other successful women, there's some women that like you, like got a ball cap on. And I was like, how are you making so much money? And it's because they choose to be them. And so people gravitate and want to work with them because of who they are, not the way they dress, not the way that they talk, and not the way they present themselves. It's because of their personality. And they know that that person is genuine. And then from there, you can really show them how you can thrive. I mean, I tell this to newer agents I work with all the time. They're like, well, I don't know anything in the industry. And I'm like, so? Well, I can't tell people that. Why? Why can't you have a conversation? And if they ask you a question, you say, you know what? That is a fantastic question. I actually don't have the answer to that one. But I tell you what, I have a whole team of people that I can make sure I get the correct answer for you. And I'll get back to you. Is that okay? Coming across with that and that confidence behind being okay to not know actually attracts people to you to want to work with you because they know that you're not faking.
Right. And I tell this, now that's a good tip, but I also tell people like, you know what, have one of those little, the old notebooks that they would ring over and they were like really small. They were like, I don't know, like 2x3. Yeah. So like you put that in your back pocket, whip it out, get a pen. Okay. And then when they ask a question, go, you know what, go ahead and tell me all your questions. I'm going to write them all down. And then I'm going to email you all the answers to all of them.
Yeah.
Now, guess what? I don't have to be the expert. What I'm doing is I'm being helpful to my client because they may have lots of questions. I'm going to write them all down. I'm being attentive to my client.
Yeah.
People want you to be more attentive than they want you to be a freaking know-it-all. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a know-it-all.
So true.
And then, you just, then the things that you don't know the answer to, you ask someone else. Okay. And if you don't have someone to ask, well, then you're at the wrong place. Well, I'm
Yeah.
just going to go call a spade a spade. If you do not have a group in your organization that will stop and help you as a new agent, you're at the wrong place. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you are. I don't care if it's 100% brokerage and you're like, I don't want to pay a percent. Guess what? 0 times 0 is still 0.
Yep.
Okay. So get with a group, get with an organization that will actually help you become better professionally, and they'll teach you stuff, and they're not going to charge you. They're just
Yeah.
going to help you because that's what they like to do. Like that's what the not the morale. That's what the norm is. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Whew. I had COVID a couple weeks ago, and my brain is still like mush sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll forget. I was at the grocery, and the guy was like, "Can I help you find something?" I was like, yeah, but I can't remember what I was looking for. So I'm just going to stand here for a minute and it'll come back to me. He looked at me like, I don't know if she's on drugs or what. I'm like, no, no drugs.
It's fine.
I
Just
was,
give me a minute.
I was a Nancy Reagan. Just say no. I got it.
I did that to my poor husband the other day. I walked into the kitchen and I was like, I just stood there and he was like, what? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I know I
Right.
can
I was coming in here for something that I don't remember. Now, have you ever done this? You go through the alphabet when you forget something?
No, what?
Yes. Okay. So when you forget something, start at the A, obviously, because
Okay.
that's the first letter of the alphabet. That's a little lesson, guys. Okay. A little bit of teacher Jackie coming out. Start at A and go slow and picture the letter in your head, like visualize the letter and go
Okay.
slow. And when you get to that letter, your brain will automatically kind of like linger on it and then it'll come back to you.
Oh, I am so trying that the next time that I have this issue.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
fantastic.
So, and the reason why I know that is because, so my dad had a massive stroke, gosh, probably 10, 15 years ago, maybe. And that was one of the things that his cognitive therapist would have him do, because he would get in that point where he knew what he wanted to say, but he just couldn't think of the word. And so
Yeah.
they would tell him just to slow down and say and visualize the letter, and his brain would, like, your subconscious brain will tell you to stop on that letter, and then you'll think of it and then you'll get it.
How cool is that?
Right.
I love that. But I have an obsession with the subconscious mind. I really started like diving into it and learning more. And I found out that there's so many things that, especially in the world that we live into now, today, right? We're so busy. We have social media in front of us. We have text messages in front of us. We have everything at our fingertips that your subconscious like does not have time to catch up. But
Yeah.
if you can sit and just in a calm state, or with like some music in the background, no words, just, with violence, something like that, right? That your subconscious can kind of come out and you can actually ask yourself questions like, why am I doing this? Or why am I making this hard on myself? And your brain will actually start to work as to answering your own questions. You just haven't taken the time to slow down to figure out what it is. And that's, so I learned about journaling with a coach of mine just about a year ago. And she was like, well, do you journal? I was like, oh God. I was like, no, I don't, Dear Diary. I was like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, no. That's not what I mean. She's like, I mean, like, get in a calm space, find a place to just kind of calm the mind, turn your notifications off, put your phone up so you have nothing to focus on, let the thoughts kind of come. And then she said, write out a question or write out something that is bothering you or something you want to work through. She said, and just start writing. And she said, you'll be amazed at how in the beginning you're trying to think about it, but if you just kind of start writing, like the subconscious starts coming out and you can figure out like what your fears are, the reason why you keep, stopping yourself from making this decision or from moving forward in that direction. Like, it really is super, super neat. And like for me specifically, and everybody has this, like some people are, audio, some people are visual, right? And for me, it's audio. But if I don't have things to listen to, I am also very intelligent wise, or it makes me focus to smells.
Oh.
So certain smells. So like I've realized that there are certain things that I smell that just like, it's very calming to me, certain oils and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So like I have a lot of sage in my house because if
I
I know
love
that I'm
sage.
like, if I am super stressed or I'm overwhelmed, I know that I can go get a small twig of sage and I can burn it and just stand in it and breathe it in and
Hmm.
focus on that smell for like 2 minutes. And I am totally fine after that.
Yep.
Totally fine. Like it brings you back to that present moment because I do feel like we live in a society where we are just go, go, go,
Hmm.
nonstop, nonstop, that literally our bodies are almost on autopilot. Like
Yeah.
I always use this as an example. Yeah, I tell everybody, like, have you ever washed the dishes and been talking to someone and you didn't even realize you finished scrubbing it because you forgot you were washing? Your body was on autopilot. It knew to wash the dishes because it's a habit you've
Hmm.
already formed and done, but you are literally not in the present moment. And
Yep.
we as a society live beyond that present moment. I think that's why a lot of us get so lost in what it is that we want to accomplish and how we want things to be or where we want to go, because we're so stuck in this area instead of what's going on right there.
Oh yeah. And I love journaling. So look, I'm gonna do a little plug. So when COVID was going on, I started journaling. So
Mhm.
ever since I was a little girl, um, and well, this now look, you asked me what were some things that people didn't know about me to give you those little like things. So one of the things a lot of people don't know about me was I could not read until I was in third grade. Like could not. I
Mhm.
had a huge stuttering issue. So I had a speech issue, probably like, well, I was premature. And so some of it may have been like developmental. But
Yeah.
anyhow, so there was this sweet little nun. Her name was Sister Jovita. I loved her. She was the first nun that I like fell in love with, like, because all the
Oh.
other ones were mean. But she would help me read. Like she taught me how to read. And so anyhow, she looked at me and I'll never forget. And she goes, "You are going to write a book one day." And I thought to myself, now, how the heck am I going to write a book? I didn't even know how to read a book until like today. Like, hello. But it always kind of stayed in my mind. So, like, when COVID was going on, I started journaling because all this stuff's going on, all these feelings.
Yeah.
And a lot of my journaling had to deal with my son and, like all of his struggles since he's on the spectrum. And so I actually wrote an entire book, published it, self published, about, raising a child on the spectrum and how it can be really lonely. I wanted to bring to light kind of this, like, I don't want to say idiotic way, but this everyone thinks that there's this persona about people who are on the spectrum. Like
Mhm.
I'll have people who say, "Oh, your son doesn't look like he's autistic." I'm like, "This is not Down syndrome. There's not a look."
Yeah.
Or they'll say, "Oh, so he's autistic." And I'm like, "No, that's not what we call it." Or like, they'll jump on the vaccine bandwagon. "Oh, yeah, then vaccines." And I'm like, "Okay, I get it, but like you're being very inappropriate in your
Yeah.
talk." And so and I would internalize it because I was a teacher and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, did I do this to my son?" I was
Yeah.
also older. They called me a geriatric OB at the OB office. I was like, "Really? Geriatric? Come on now, I'm not that old." Um, but like I started blaming myself. And
Yeah.
so I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues during that time. So I started journaling. So I wrote this whole book, it's like 300 pages, about how when you lean in your faith, which is kind of like what you're talking about, like, really like just relaxing, let your brain go. And guess what? The answers that you're looking for are going to happen. Whether
Mhm.
it's business related, personal related, anything, it doesn't matter. It's going to come to you because our mind is super smart.
Yeah.
And things that you think are not possible will be possible. And sometimes the only reason that hasn't happened yet is because you're not getting out of the way.
Yeah.
And some of it is your fear. But again, I had a pastor back home that would say you can't let fear and faith cannot live in the same room. So either you believe in yourself and
Mhm.
you're work hard for whatever goal you have, or you're going to let other people's ideas of you get in the way and you're going to stay in fear.
Yeah. So
So get the
true.
heck out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So tell me, what's the name of the book? So if
So,
anybody.
so yeah, so the book is called A Road God Paved. It's available on Amazon, but basically it is it's a 3-part book. So the first part is my story of raising my child. And so each one of the chapters is about a road sign. So it's these road signs that you see in life, because what I really wanted was, I wanted people, after they read the book, if they saw these signs, that it would remind them. So there's like, one way. We grow up thinking that kids are one way, but they're not.
Yeah.
And what does the word say about how my child is uniquely made in his image? And so it's a way to kind of take your fears aside and then walk through this. Then the second part is all the different feelings you have, because when you receive that diagnosis, even if you know it, you get angry. You're so angry and you're sad. And I'm not going to cry. And you get envious because there's all these other kids that get invited to birthday parties and your kid doesn't get invited. And, there's all these mom groups, but you can't take your kid because maybe they're nonverbal and all they do is scream. And people look at you and they're thinking, well, why isn't she like stopping them from screaming?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the way they vocalize how they feel. And then the last part is sorry, I didn't think that was going to happen. Is a weekly devotional. So it's all of my favorite Bible verses that really speak to me when I'm in my feelings and I'm kind of on my pity potty, or if like I'm having a bad day and I'm questioning my abilities, because it's hard. Like I always tell people, like, it's the hardest thing because you don't know what the future is going to be like. But that's no different than having any kid.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen to them. And if you sit around and you worry all the time, like, I mean, I have old kids. Okay. I have a 20-year-old. I could sit and worry about her choosing to use drugs and being addicted to drugs and overdosing and dying. I have a child who's newly licensed driver. I could sit home and worry about her having a crash every single day. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. So the same thing, my son isn't any different. I could sit around and go, what's it going to be like? Like, is he going to be an adult that can be on his own, or is he going to need me? And is he going to outlive me, or am I going to outlive him? And what's that going to look like? But at the end of the day, it's not going to change anything. Me worrying about it's not going to change anything. So if I put the faith where my faith is supposed to be, that everything that is supposed to happen will happen the way it's supposed to, all of that worry gets lifted.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to have all the answers. So I don't know if you actually saw, but I actually have a tattoo. This is my son. He did a self-portrait of himself. And it is a tattoo on my arm. It's actually, so Jackson, that's my son's name. He autographed every single book, like it's on the title page. And so it's his picture. That's a permanent tattoo of mine. And then it's his signature that's on my arm. So yeah, this is his entire arm. So there's the autism puzzle piece, because when we got his diagnosis, the light bulb went off. Now I knew what to do to help him.
Okay.
And by helping him, let me also, like, what is that going to look like in my business? So I had to set boundaries.
Yeah.
So my work day starts at 9, it ends at 2. Why do I only work that amount of time? Because those are the times that he's at school. I don't work in the summertime because he's home and he needs me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's taking care of myself, but then also staying out of the well, what if? Well, I don't know. I don't want to live on what if lane anymore. I lived on what if lane for forever. It's the worst street to live on. Get off of that street. Put your for sale sign. If you need a real estate agent in the state of Arizona, I can totally help you out. I will help you sell your house if you live on what if lane. And we will move you to Grace Boulevard, or you can move to Joy Avenue, whatever. We'll move. We're gonna move to a different street. Let's move. Pack it up.
I love that, and I feel like we don't have. I feel personally, you guys are listening, I feel like we become a very self-absorbed society. And so we don't think about others. We say that we do, but really we just take these stigmas and say, oh, well, that's wrong. Or, oh, you shouldn't do that. Did you actually take the time to understand why you're saying that? Or did you take the time to ask the questions? Because I am that, right? I was a single mom for the majority of my kid's life. I was in an abusive relationship for 8 years. So I rebuilt my entire being of who I was. And being a single mom of 2 boys was extremely hard. And like you, my oldest one is now 18, graduated, thank God. There was a huge struggle, but I always taught my kids when they were younger, like when we were walking through stores or when we were anywhere, if you saw someone that was acting different, don't make fun of them. Don't ask them. Try to understand. And if you don't, then let people know that you don't understand and you just want to learn, because you can figure out so much about someone by just asking questions. And it doesn't mean that the person's going to hate you for it. I would rather someone come to me and say, look, I feel stupid, but I don't have a clue with it. What is this? What is going on? Right. And me explain it. Then you sit there and give me this weird look like there's something wrong with me. And now I'm judging you for judging me.
I know, right?
Questions. Ask questions. That's a huge one.
Absolutely. And kids do that. That's the thing. Like when we're little bitty, we ask tons of questions. And then it's like we become adults and we don't ask no questions. Yeah. So like so we were in the grocery store the other day and it was so cute. Jackson is hilarious. Like he's so funny. And there was this little boy that was crying. Now he was I think like I had watched enough of the show as we were walking through the produce section. This was also the day that I forgot the word broccoli. But anyhow, so that was the word. It was broccoli. Look, I had to stop at the B. But anyhow, like there was this little boy who was crying in the grocery cart, and Jackson is very in tune to other people's feelings. Like it's almost like he's kind of like codependent on other people's, like he'll feel their feelings before they feel them. But anyhow, beside the point, I regress. He walked up to the little boy and he patted him on his shoulder and he goes, "It's going to be okay." And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so anyhow, so the mom turned around and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that was so, how," and I was like, "My son just has a kind heart. That's it." Yeah. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so sweet." And so we were talking or whatever, because I couldn't think of the word broccoli. And she was trying to help me, like, because the guy was like, "What are you looking for?" And I was like, "I can't remember." And she was like, "Did you need cauliflower?" I was like, "Nope." "Did you need lettuce?" "Nope." And so like, anyhow, so we're sitting there and she said, she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" Because then she saw Jackson, and Jackson was, so Jackson, one of the things that he does when he's feeling stressed is he scripts. So scripting is like, basically like when he has seen movies, he has like a photographic memory. So he remembers all of the lines. And he'll change his voice for the different people. So he was doing the Dory thing where they were stuck in the whale, or they were getting ready to be. Cool. Jackson was doing the thing. And so anyhow, the mom goes, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she was like, "Is your son on the spectrum?" And I was like, "Yes, he is." And she was like, she goes, "How did you know?" And I'm like, okay, now I get it. Her son was crying. I thought it was because he was having a tantrum. He wasn't. He was having a sensory overload. And here's this mom trying to figure out, is her son on the spectrum or is he not? Okay. And I said, well, I said, I said, my son is 7. And when he was 2, actually, no, when he was about 18 months old, I started knowing something was wrong. Like I knew something was up. I didn't know what it was, but I suspected autism. Yeah. And I was like, my son loves things to be organized. His blocks are color coordinated. And also however many dots are on the top, that's how they get organized. I'm like, that was when he was a kid. He has all of his drawers in his dresser organized. If a sock is with the underwear, that's not going to work for him. That needs to be changed. I was like, everything has to be a routine. Mm-hmm. If we always wash our hands, then we wash our face, and then we brush our teeth, if I change that routine up, it throws his whole day off. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, you just described my son." And she started crying. And I'm like, "Why are you crying?" And she's like, "Because I didn't know what it was and I didn't know how to help him. And now I do." And she goes, and at the end of the day, she goes, "If your son's on the spectrum and I just saw how kind he was and his heart, that's what I want." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, now we're crying." I still can't remember the word broccoli, but it was just like, and I feel like that's the same thing with business. Yeah. We talk about it with kids and like our parenting and our lifestyle, but that's the same thing with business. Mm-hmm. When you see someone struggling and you've been successful, you should anticipate what they need help with and help them. Like, I feel like we should all be like my son Jackson and just go up to people. "You know what? What's going on? How can I help you out?" Yeah. Because we don't want people to leave after 3 years. You want the good people to stay in. Yeah. So that way they raise the level of professionalism within the industry. Mm-hmm. But we, as experienced agents, have to make sure that we're giving back to that industry. So how are you giving back? Maybe, you decide, "You know what? I'm going to start giving back. I'm going to create some valuable content for agents that's going to really help them in this area of, this niche or whatever it is." Mm-hmm. Or maybe I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to share, like safety tips, because some people leave the industry because they've had a scare. And now they don't want to be in it anymore, or whatever it is. But whatever, I'm very big on everyone has a value to share. And if you have that value and you keep it to yourself, it's a disservice to everyone else in the industry.
Yes.
So, and then some people will be like, oh, well, I'm not good at something. Now that's a damn lie. Everybody is good at something. Yep. Maybe you're really good at, something simple like how to place open house signs. Mm-hmm. Guys, there's a science to that. There's a reason why some people's open houses get more traffic than others.
Yep.
Maybe you're really good at understanding contract law. Okay. Take a piece of the contract and share that with other agents that are in your state. Obviously, like if I'm in Arizona, I'm not going to be trying to teach people like in North Carolina how to do their job. Okay. But honestly, like give back, create events, get people together.
Yep.
And just support each other.
Yeah. And understand too that, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I saw this person, they're already doing it and they do it better than me. That's not necessarily true because we all have our own perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I could watch the same video that you do and I take away that they taught this and you could be like, oh, that's not what I learned. I thought they were talking about this. Same thing, same content, the same person, the same stuff out of their mouth, but two different people walk away with two different perspectives. So you could still be teaching something that someone else does, but for the life of whoever is watching that, it does not resonate with them. And then here you come along to teach your side and they're like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense because your perspectives are similar. Not everyone. I watch people and I'm like, I love what you're doing. I'm not getting it. Not getting it. And they're like, it's so simple. I'm like, I'm out. Right. And it's just because I don't know how to internalize it because my perspective is just not matching up your teaching. That's all it is. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just I see things differently. Depending on how you see something is going to be dependent on how you intake it.
Right. And everyone has a different sphere of influence. So you have to understand, there may be, because I teach KV Core. There's 1,000 people who teach KV Core. Mm-hmm. We all don't have the same followers. So by me not sharing my value, the people who do follow me are missing out on it.
Yeah.
And then the people that they follow are missing out on it because people share stuff. And so you never know, like where your one little tip, someone's going to say, now don't get attached. Now I am going to tell you this though. Don't get attached to the outcome. Don't be like, well, unless I get 12 likes, I'm not going to post this anymore. That's stupid. If you help one person, that's all that matters. Like you don't have to have 10,000 followers. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Okay. Your follower count makes no bit of difference to anybody. Nobody cares. All right. None of us are influencers. All right. I'm sorry. You are not a Kardashian. Okay. But right. Like nobody's going to go buy your stuff. But as long as one person finds value, that's awesome. Like the first time I started teaching KV Core, I would have like 1 or 2 people in my class. Now my classes sell out in the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that happens is because I was brave enough to get out there and do it when there was only one person. I didn't give up and say, well, I'm a failure because I only did one. Guys, if you've only sold one house, you're not a failure. You're an experienced agent. You've sold a house. Mm-hmm. Good job. Now go out there and prospect. And you prospect a lot. Okay. Prospecting is not done in 15 minutes. All right. It's not content shoots. All right. Break your arm. Now break your arm some more. No, a content shoot is not going to sell a house, but calling people will. So if you've done it once, you can do it again. Yeah. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
I love it. I love that. All right. So, oh my God, I could talk to you forever. We're going to have to do this again. I always like to end on 2 notes. So tell me this, what is one tip or trick within business or personal life that you would like to share with the audience that, would bring some type of value to someone out there that's listening?
Okay. This is going to be a personal thing. Guys, if you are not taking in mindfulness, you need to do it. Okay. There's apps that you can download because whether you are super busy or you're not busy at all and you're stressing because bills are due, if you're not taking care of your mind, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody in real estate, personal life, anything like that. Yeah. So that would be my one tip. And then tell me again, because I'm ADHD and I already forgot the second question you said.
I didn't give it to you, so you were good. Okay, good. My
Pass.
oldest
Okay.
one has ADHD. Everything's always been in the list. I give him one
Good.
thing at a time. Like, I know.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So the second thing is, I always love to end on a note of positivity. So do you have a saying or a quote or something that you use or you come back to or you love to share with people that brings a piece of positivity?
Oh, man. Okay, here we go. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. That's my thing. I think you need to be kind. That was something that, and you also have to remember, here's another one. This is the one that I used to always have in my classroom. It was up on the wall. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget the way that you made them feel. So as long as you're making sure that you're making people feel good, they're never going to forget you. And that's business or personal. Yeah. So there you go. Look, you got 2 for 1. It was a deal. It's like we're back at the Kmart. Blue light special. Got a blue light special on aisle 3. Colgate toothpaste. You can now get whitening 2 in 1 box.
So tell us where can everybody find you online, Jackie, so they can connect with you?
Yes. So Instagram, I am at Jackie Durbin AZ. It's Jackie just spelled normal. I'm not, like the 227 Jack K. It's JACKIE. And then Durbin is DURBIN AZ. And yep, all of my links are in that. So I look forward to getting on there and getting to know people. So, and I'm always a wealth of knowledge. So any questions you have, if you're using KV Core, obviously I'm there to help you. But anything, honestly, just say, hey, you know what? I need help with this. And if I don't know the answer, guess what? I probably have someone I can connect you with. And I would be glad to do that.
Yeah. And thank you so much. I absolutely love that. And we'll have everything in the show notes as well. And to everybody out there, I hope that you guys got some amazing tips out of this today. Yes. And I really think that the big thing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Good. So, and focus on your mindset. Seriously, people, take the time, take 5 minutes. Your life is not going to end. The world is not going to fall apart. You have to remember that you don't take care of yourself and you don't take care of your mental, shit's gonna hit the fan anyway. Like, it will. Being completely honest, it's going to, you eventually crash, and then when you do, it's going to be harder than it would have been if you'd have worked on it at a slower pace. So 1000%. So to everybody out there, thank you so much for joining today. Thank you so much, Jackie. And until next time, have a fantastic day and do something positive. So, mwah. Hello again, and thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you absolutely love what you heard, please be sure to share, subscribe, and don't forget to leave me a comment or review so that I can keep the good stuff rolling. If you haven't yet connected with me on social media, be sure to follow along at Agent Services Plus. I am so excited to connect with you until the next episode. And until next time, be sure to find something that helps you learn, grow, and be inspired.